Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Thursday, September the 18th, 2025. And a little bit happening overnight. I had numerous people send me the quote or the statement from Tszyu. I'll get to that in a sec. I just happened to be on social media myself actually, and it just popped up. And of course I had probably half a dozen people send it to me. So thank you to my followers out there who like to keep me informed. Fantastic. No matter what it is, send it to me because I might not see it. And it's obviously big news. So I'll get to that in a sec. But firstly, on this day, and strangely enough, Oscar De La Hoya features 3 times today. First of all, we'll go back to, where are we? 1982. Rafael Bazooka Limon defended his world super featherweight title with a knockout of Chung Hil Choi in the 7th round in Los Angeles, California. And then in 1998, Oscar De La Hoya defended the world welterweight title with a 8th round stoppage of Julio Cesar Chavez. What a build up that fight was. I remember that. I think actually the first one was 1996, wasn't it? I think. Or was this the second one? Whatever it was. But just a build up of both fights. The Mexican rivalry there, even though Oscar was obviously American or Mexican-American or American-Mexican or whatever you want to call it. We'll call it Mexican-American. And of course, Chavez being the legend, and lots of divided fans in that one, I can tell you. Then in 1999, again with Oscar, this was the fight in which he was beaten by Felix Tito Trinidad over 12 rounds for the world welterweight title. Now you can remember that Oscar, well, it was a little bit of a disputed decision. I think a lot of people think Oscar might have done enough, but I think we're all unanimous in that he was doing very well during the fight, and then for some reason in the sort of latter parts of the fight, he decided to get more cautious. He boxed more from a distance, didn't really engage, and allowed Tito Trinidad to take the fight and the decision for that world welterweight title. So that fight was in Las Vegas. I think it was at the Mandalay Bay from memory. Then in 2004, still with Oscar, this was the fight in which he was stopped in the 8th round by Bernard Hopkins for the world middleweight title. What else? We've got one more there. 2010, Humberto Soto defended the world lightweight title with a decision over Colombia's Fidel Monterosa in Mexico. All right, well, let's get into today's big news, and that is all revolving around Tszyu. And as I said, I had numerous people send it to me last night. Now, the articles, I suppose, judging by his statement, there's a lot of conjecture and all that sort of stuff about what was going to happen. Now, this morning, or even last night, I think I saw it, on the Herald Sun website. It was written by, is it Jamie Papandum or something, I think his name is. Because obviously in the statement from Tim, it was just saying changes were coming. I wanted to let you guys know about it before it got out and all this sort of stuff. Stay tuned. Not finished, all that sort of stuff. And then of course, as I said, main event and lots of social media platforms all sort of hypothesised over what might happen. But in the Herald Sun, and I'm sure this has been picked up and gone all around the country, is that it's been reported that he's actually sacked his manager Glenn Jennings and his trainer Igor. I won't try and pronounce his last name, but his uncle Igor. Now this is huge. It really is, because especially after losing 3 of his last 4 fights over in America in the last sort of 18 months. I think we all had our opinions and what we think Tim should do, and I was one of them. In my opinion, I didn't think Glenn Jennings would be in the mix, but if it is true, that would surprise me. But I did say about his Uncle Igor, in my opinion, that he should move on from Uncle Igor. But I must admit, I never thought he would do it. Now, it hasn't 100% been confirmed, by the way, but as I said, this is what's being reported in the Herald Sun this morning, and no doubt if it's in the Herald Sun, it'll be in the Daily Telegraph and the whatever the other major papers around the country are getting picked up. I never thought he would do it. I thought there could be, well, actually, I'll take that back. I didn't think Glenn Jennings would ever come into the mix. I thought that him and Tim are very, very close. I've been through a lot. Glenn, of course, went through the journey with Kostya, and Igor did as well as an assistant, I think, to Kostya. But again, I must admit, I didn't think that Tim would do it. Family's everything to Tim, and his Uncle Igor's been there along the way. Wouldn't have surprised me if Uncle Igor said, well, I think you need a new voice, you need a new person in your corner, and maybe stepped away. But the article said that he had indeed sacked Glenn Jennings and Igor, or Uncle Igor. So big news on the Australian boxing front. And look, again, it hasn't been 100% confirmed, but by Tim I'm talking about. Everyone's sort of reporting different things, but if he has done it, it's a bold move, and I have to applaud Tim for having the courage to do it, to make these changes. It would have been so difficult because, as I said, Igor is family. Glenn is practically family. Has been through the journey from day dot with Tim and Kostya. So for Tim to actually cross that bridge, I suppose you want to call it. I did actually in the past call it the crossroads, where Tim was at the crossroads of whether he goes left or right. And if he goes left, he stays with Uncle Igor and Glenn and the rest of the team and just goes back to what he was doing before. And again, in my opinion, I said that if that's the case, I think we're back here in 12 months' time talking about exactly what we were speaking about after the Thundora fight. The other option, of course, was to turn right, and that was to do exactly what it sounds like he's done, and that is to change his team and give himself the best possible chance of succeeding in the sport. It's a bold move, and I must admit I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised that he's done it. Not so much Igor, but definitely Glenn. Now, Glenn was at the weigh-in for Paro and Papo yesterday. He's got obviously Liam Wilson on the card. Nothing was, well, you wouldn't have picked it. You would have thought that Glenn might have just been a little bit down, I suppose, and who would blame him? Look, maybe it's a mutual decision. I don't know. Maybe it's a mutual decision where they've all sat down as a group, and Tim has maybe expressed his concerns about what would happen going forward, and maybe, just maybe, that they've all decided that it's best that they go separate ways, or Tim goes his separate ways. But would there be the term of sacked in the paper? I know the media tend to sensationalise things and make things up and blow things up, I suppose. So maybe they've called it a sacking, and maybe Tim will actually come out and say, well, it's not a sacking. It is a mutual decision that Glenn, as his manager, and Igor, as his trainer, have all said, go for it, buddy. Go off and give it your best shot. If you don't think that we've done the best by you, then by all means go off and do what you're going to do. So there's lots of questions being asked. But as I said, if Tim has actually made that call to part ways with them and move on, as much as I've got so much respect for Glenn Jennings, I don't really know Uncle Igor. I've only met him a couple of times. And as you can imagine, doesn't sort of say a lot. He's very hard to sort of get to. He'll shake your hand and smile and say hello, but unless you're sort of part of the group, he's a little bit reluctant. So, and they must meet so many people. But Glenn has always been so warm and friendly and welcoming, and has obviously done a great job with his management firm. That's the one that really surprises me. But look, Tim's got to make those calls, doesn't he? And again, I applaud him if that is the case, because it would have been so hard. I'm just thinking to myself, if I was in that position, what would you do? But he obviously feels strong enough about it that maybe it's a sign of him being 100% serious about getting his career on track. Now, whether he can do that or not is another thing. You've still got to be able to work on things and be able to put it into practice, and obviously have the right management team and all that to get you where you want to get to. But I don't think there's a problem for Tim if he decides to come back. Well, sorry, he will be coming back, but no matter which way he goes, I don't think there'll be a problem with him getting opportunities. even in defeat. And even this is a guy, I mean, let's just remember, okay, he's a former world champion, but hasn't really had any big wins and legacy wins and really wins at the absolute elite level. But not just Australian fight fans, fans overseas and the reporters and obviously promoters and the teams, they all seem to be fascinated with Tszyu. Always seems to get opportunities, even after he lost. Even the Americans were trying to think up reasons about why he could possibly lose. I mean, this is a guy that he just has something about him, doesn't he? Because when you think about it, as I said, I mean, okay, he beat Brian Mendoza. Okay, he beat Tony Harrison on the downside. He hasn't really had the big win, but he continues to be put on this pedestal, and that's great. I mean, it's great for him. He's earning big money, but that's one thing I'm not worried about. He'll get an opportunity overseas. He'll get plenty of opportunities. I think if he goes with a known coach in America and a real known manager, a bit of a player in America, he'll be back pretty quick. What I don't like, though, is what I'm hearing from No Limit. I mean, they were asked about the weigh-in yesterday, and it has been reported in that article as well that he intends to come back maybe in December. I don't like that. Just my humble opinion, I think if he does change trainers and teams and everything else, I would imagine, let's just say I'm just picking, Abel Sanchez in America. I'm just picking a trainer. And he goes over there to train with Abel Sanchez. Wouldn't you think you'd want a good sort of 6 months before you wanted to get in there? I don't see the rush. He's only fought, a month or two ago. The end of the year's coming. Everything sort of shuts down. You'd think probably sort of late November. Why not just wait until, if it's go over now and spend 6 months, so it's only, March next year? 6 months to really work on stuff, get your eye back in, work on, the relationship with each other, obviously working on things in the ring, and then jump in there in sort of March next year. That's what I would think. I just don't see the rush in getting back there in, say, December, because I just don't see the use. I get it that No Limit want him back in the ring. I mean, he's the poster boy, he's the money earner, he's the superstar. But geez, is it a matter of let's get him back in now and just roll the dice and try and squeeze everything we can out of Tim? Or do they really, in my opinion anyway, if they really cared about him and were focused on the long-term future with Tim, it's just like, okay, Tim, don't stress, mate. Let's just put a date in for March next year and you go off and do your thing. We'll back your choices. You go off and do your thing, train for 6 months with your new trainer, get accustomed to life overseas and all that sort of stuff. We'll be here in March next year. We're not going anywhere. Let's just start maybe looking at opponents now, venues, all that sort of stuff. And let's just pencil it in for, say, mid-March next year. But no, it's like, no, we expect him that. George Rose didn't actually say they wanted him back, but geez, he could barely contain himself, couldn't he, about the excitement of possibly having the cash cow back. So, I don't know. And the other thing I think is that maybe they could coincide it with Tim is this rugby thing they do over in Las Vegas. Isn't that in March as well? So maybe they can coincide with that. I don't know. Maybe that's a bit too much pressure on him. Maybe he just needs to slide back in and have a couple of really easy wins, maybe even in America. Don't come back to Australia. You've got to remember the pressure that's on Tim and to succeed. Why not go to America and have at least one, if not two, fights over there on undercards, 8 rounders, 10 rounds, whatever it might be, and just get a couple of quick wins under your belt. At least it's a start. It's not going to say he's back, but at least it's a start. It gets the ball rolling. It lets him work on the things that he's been training with his new trainer with. Gives him an opportunity to do that maybe against lesser opponents and do it that way. I'm hoping that he doesn't sort of go over there and train with someone and then they throw him in with a big fight. And, because the thing is when you first change trainers, whether it be boxing or a coach in football or soccer, whatever it might be, at the start, you tend to, when the heat's on or fatigue kicks in or something doesn't go the way you expected, the natural thing is to go back to what you originally knew. It's just human nature. So that's what could happen to Tim against a good opponent. It might all go out the window and he goes back to what happened in the Fundora fight. I would like to see him 2, if not even 3 quick fights and work on some stuff so that when the shit does go down that he's prepared and he's been through it in those easier fights where he's been able to work on everything. So look, look, he's his own man. He will decide. But I'll tell you what, when I read the article last night, I was like, wow, Tim, that is a big, big move, mate. And I take my hat off to you if it is right. Because he's done what's best for his career. He's put that above friendships and family. And I think even if they were a little bit pissed, and I'm sure that would be, geez, why wouldn't you? That in the long term, they will actually look back and go, yeah, he made the right call and all can be amended. However, as I said, maybe also they actually encouraged him to do it, and it's just been a bit of a beat up by Jamie Papendam, who wrote the story, who said they were actually sacked. So I don't know, lots of things will come out. I'm sure within the next sort of day or so, now that it's gone like wildfire across the boxing community, that he will do a press conference, I would say, or maybe it's just a sit-down interview, whatever it might be, and just explain himself. Maybe he'll just jump on Instagram or whatever it is and just do an interview and just say, or a statement, and say this is what's happened and this is why. I would hope he would do it quickly, because you know what people are like, the little knitting circles around the community and the industry, where lots of rumours will be getting around and lots of people, hearsay and everything else. I hope he just nips it in the bud now that it's out and just says, hey, look, this is what's happened and why, and we can just get on with it. I think it's exciting, and I think it'll be really good for him in the long run. And even if it's not good in the long run and it doesn't work, I still think it's the right decision. I mean, he could, have a couple of warm-up fights, have another big fight, and get beaten again. And people might be saying you should have stayed where you were. I don't think that'll be the case, but I don't think no matter what happens that this is not the right decision. I think it is. So good on Tim. Yeah, good on Tim. It must be bloody hard. I mean, you put yourself in that position where you got to sit down with a family member and someone that you love and has been there with you a long time in Glenn Jennings, and tell them that that you're moving on and they're no longer required. Massive move by Tim. So again, applaud him. And of course, there's also the awkwardness of Nikita, which probably gets me thinking that it's on good terms. And because Nikita's going to be managed by Glenn and trained by Igor at this stage anyway. So you would think that would be on okay terms, or maybe it'll just be a business relationship. I don't know. But anyway, I'm just guessing, probably like a lot of you are out there at the moment. But either way, big news. I don't know about the timing either, by the way, because of course there's a big No Limit show tonight, and all everyone's talking about, and we'll probably be talking about tonight on the telecast, is Tim. What's happening with Tim? They'll interview George Rose from No Limit, and no doubt that'll be asked, and he'll have to probably just brush it away and everything else. But the news is not going to go away until he addresses it or they address it. So I'm sure within a day or so that something will be said. So speaking of that show tonight, just quickly, the card. So Paulo Alcuso didn't get a fight. He is out. So the full card, we've got Matthew Hosking, Lance McDonald. We've got Danny Keating, Sachin Natiel. We've got Ken Aiken, who was supposed to fight Brock Jarvis. He's in with Sunny Knight. Good on Sunny Knight for jumping in at late notice, by the way. Darren Garatuella, Lachlan O'Shea. And then into the main card, Floyd Masson and Johan Lind. That should be a pretty good fight. I think Floyd Masson will win that one. Good to see him back so quickly too. He's been out for a while, and he only fought, a couple of months ago, I think. So good to see him back. Johan Lind is an Olympian. He'll give some effort. He'll give Masson some things some issues, I suppose, but I would expect Masson to win that quite comfortably. Lynn is a big sort of guy, so I'm sure it'll go the distance, but he'll give Masson rounds and some entertainment. Jacob NG, Ricky Nato, great to see the Flamingo back, I will say. He's a real character, and he's a good fighter. He can fight. I just love everything about Jacob NG. He looks like he's sort of a quietish type of guy, speaking, but he's got a big personality, and his whole persona. I love the Flamingo sort of setup, and especially this coming out to the song, and he gets the crowd involved, and a real character of the sport. But more importantly, the guy can fight. So I'm really happy that he's back. Too much of a talent to go by the wayside. So really good. Although it is at 154, I think. Now he's actually 154. Now he fought at 135. So what's that, 19 pounds. So he's gone up. But I think for these first sort of couple of fights, I think the main thing will just be getting back into the ring, and don't stress too much about the weight. Fight opponents that are sort of appropriate for him at this time. and then maybe he'll go back to welterweight or something like that. But he's a big guy, could probably carry the weight no problems. When I say big guy, he's tall and has a pretty big frame, so I'm sure he'll be able to carry the weight pretty well. And he actually looked good at the weigh-in yesterday too, didn't he? So I'm sure he'll be fine. And then the Liam Wilson, Jorge Santana co-main event. Yeah, well, Santana, it's lucky that he actually made it to the ring because he fell off the stage yesterday, the poor bugger. But yeah, he's all good. He had to take a few minutes just to calm himself down. Apparently he did the weight pretty tough. So you would expect Liam Wilson to get the win over that. What's Jorge Santana? He is 15-1. Just looking at his opponent. So he's coming off a 6th round knockout back in June, a win that is. His one loss though was against a guy a couple of years ago, actually, who was 4-2. So I looked up. Who knows? It could be could have been anything that happened there, but yeah, 15-1, and Liam Wilson, who is 16-3. Looking at that world title fight, haven't seen a lot of Jorge Santana, but I think you could probably pencil in Liam Wilson to win that one. He's on the road to a world title shot, and they're certainly not going to take a lot of risks, I wouldn't have thought, at this stage, being so close. So you expect Liam Wilson to win that one, probably on points, I'm probably thinking. You think the Jorge Santana, by looking at his record, and he looks like a tough little bugger. That where's he from? He's from I'll spit that out. Dominican Republic, if I can get that out. So yeah, you expect Liam to win that one. Here come these bloody plovers again. Right, in the main event, Liam Paro. What is he? His record 26-1, and David Papo, who is 30-0 with 1 draw. So look, it's going to be a good fight. This is probably one, I know normally when No Limit bring out these internationals to fight the Aussies, people sort of sometimes roll their eyes and go, yeah, well, it's another easy one. I don't think so. I think Liam Paro will win, but this Papo goes okay. The only probably criticism I've got is he fights a lot like an amateur. Not a lot of power. I think he's only had the 5 knockouts or something and 30 wins. So obviously not a big puncher. So whether he can keep Liam off him for 10 rounds or 12 rounds, whatever it is the big question. But I think either way, I think he gives Liam a really good fight, some really good rounds. But I think Liam Paro wins a decision in that fight. And as I said, this Papo, he goes okay. He goes okay. Good skills. But as I said, fights too much like an amateur for me, and Paro will get the win. Well, that's probably going to do it, guys. Now, just on that tonight's fight, I'm not going to. I think I said the other night on Talking Boxing, I'm not putting it on our pub. I refuse to. I think it's a pretty lackluster card. The fact they want $700 to put it on at the pub, not going to happen. So I am going to pay the $50 though and watch it at home. I still like to support Aussie boxing. And at the end of the day, it's before the preliminary finals on the weekend. There's not much on TV on a Thursday night, so I'm going to get it. I'm going to watch it and support all the boys. And I'm sure there'll be some entertaining fights on there. I just don't think it's worth the money that they want for these type of events. But anyway, if you get it, enjoy the night, and no doubt we'll talk all about it tomorrow. So have a good day, and we'll catch you tomorrow.